The Pied Piper. Retold by Shirley D. Fox. In a faraway land, there is a small town, right on the sea. A buzzing, loud city where people trade and businesses flourish. But there was a time when this city was a very different place, a very quiet place, where nothing moved, nothing stirred. People were not happy, just satisfied. They didn't quarrel or complain, even when they paid enormous taxes. They never had elections. For years they were ruled by a very cunning mayor. And they believed that cunning meant wise. But one day, thousands of rats invaded their town. Such an invading horde had never been seen before. There was no longer peace nor quiet in that rat-infested place, as people found rats everywhere, even in their trousers, shoes, or pockets. They were fat, black, and hairy, running boldly through the streets in broad daylight. They swarmed all over the houses. There was not a barn, nor a storeroom, nor a cupboard without a rat in it. They ate the cheeses, licked the soup from the plates, and even bit small babies. The rats were bad during the day, but far worse at night. They ran around everywhere, in the walls, across ceilings, on the floors. They even jumped on beds. There was such a chase and scurry, such a squeaking and squealing, such a noise that even a deaf man could no longer sleep. Cats and dogs, poison and traps were of no avail. Of course, many rats were killed, but more and more appeared. The mayor and the town council were at their wits' end. Cunning as he was, even he could not solve this rat problem. One day, a queer-looking stranger arrived in this miserable city. He walked up the main street, playing the bagpipes. He was a tall, gawky man with a dark complexion, a crooked nose, and a long mustache. Below a broad-brimmed hat with a scarlet feather on one side, he looked at all the tired people and the rats scattering around with his dark, piercing eyes.
"I can help you get rid of the rats,"
he told the people.
"But you must pay me fairly."
Everyone talked about him. Was he really able to get rid of these hateful creatures? News about the rat catcher reached the government. There was a great debate about him and much skepticism. Some ministers even said that he was a sorcerer, but the cunning mayor thought otherwise.
"He says he can catch these rats, but wants to be paid. My counselors, can't you see it? He is most likely the very one who sent us these horrible vermin just to extort money,"
argued the mayor.
"We must catch this evil person in his snares. Leave it to me."
"Yes, leave it to the mayor,"
the ministers agreed.
"Show the man in,"
the mayor ordered, and an officer brought the rat catcher to the council room.
"I am called the Pied Piper,"
the stranger said.
"Rat catching is my trade."
"We certainly have a problem with rats,"
said the mayor.
"What would you pay me to get rid of them?"
asked the piper. Much as the councilors disliked the rats, they disliked parting with their money even more. But the piper was not a man to stand nonsense. At the end of much trading and bargaining, they agreed to pay him £1 for every rat removed. That evening, the piper appeared in the city square just as the moon began to show above the roofs. At once, he put his bagpipes to his lips and began a shrill, keen tune that penetrated to the remotest nooks and alleys of the town. From every hole, the rats ran to the square until it was so full of them that even the pavement was hidden from sight. The piper continued to play while walking towards the harbor, and the rats followed him with eager feet and upturned noses. Every 50 yards, he stopped and gave an extra flourish of the pipes, while he waited for the toddling little rats and the less vigorous older ones to catch up with him. The people looked at all this safely from their windows, hardly believing their own eyes. When he reached the harbor, he turned and looked at the rats.
Hop, hop,
he cried, pointing his finger towards the water. There was a big whirlpool in the water, and the rats, obedient to the piper's orders, began to leap off and swim straight to the center of the whirlpool, where they disappeared. This continued till only one rat was left. A big one, so old that his hair had turned white. He was the king of the band.
Are they all there, Whitey?
All there, boss.
How many?
999,999. Where shall I jump, boss?
Right there, in the center.
Okay, boss. Here I go.
The old rat jumped into the whirlpool, and down he went, out of sight. For the first time in a long time, the town was free from rats. Nothing moved, nothing stirred. People slept quietly through the night. There was no noise to disturb them. In the morning, they were so happy that they threw their hats in the air and rang the church bells till they rocked the steeples. But when the piper returned to the town hall to get his pay, there was no gratitude in the minister's greedy faces.
£1 per rat? Such an outrageous amount. Besides, it had been a very easy job for the piper,
they all thought.
Counselors, all your rats jumped into the water last night. No one will ever come back. They were 1 million. You owe me £1 million,
said the rat catcher.
But we are poor. Surely you can't expect us to pay you such a large sum,
the mayor argued.
I want to be paid what was promised and agreed,
the piper retorted.
Then bring all the dead rats here so that we can count them,
said the cunning mayor. The piper did not expect such treachery. He became red with anger.
If it is counting you care about, go and find the rats yourself at the bottom of the harbor.
If you can't show us the evidence, we have good reason to refuse you all payment. But we will be glad to give you £20 and a medal.
Keep your medal,
the piper retorted.
Right now, the best thing you can do is pay me all that is due.
Is that a threat, vagabond?
The mayor shrieked.
Leave this town at once, or else I'll lock you in the city prison.
The piper pulled his hat down over his eyes, turned around, and left the hall. Everyone was pleased. No new taxes, no rats, and that vagabond of a piper. He got what he deserved, caught in his own trap. That night, they all went to sleep, satisfied. Everything was quiet. So quiet. Nothing moved, Nothing stirred. But in the middle of the night, they heard a tune. It was such a nice melodic tune that everyone went into a deep, deep sleep. Then the doors of the houses opened. Children of all ages left the houses and started crawling, walking, dancing, running down the street as entranced by the magic harmony until they all disappeared behind the city gates. In the morning, people woke up, feeling happy and refreshed. But the children were missing. Then they remembered. That melodic tune, the piper. A large search party was organized. They searched and searched, but there was no trace of the missing children. Posters were printed, rewards agreed. They even hired private police. Their town was no longer quiet. Mothers were crying, husbands were running around wildly.
That's all the piper's doing,
The mayor told them.
We must bring this criminal to justice.
But one day, someone in the crowd shouted back,
You should have paid him what you promised. Down with you and your corrupt government.
They all looked at the mayor and saw him for what he really was, a highly paid bureaucrat who had deceived them all. Good for nothing. He and his lackeys only collected taxes. He should have protected them with his wisdom, but instead, he had betrayed their trust.
Down with the mayor! New elections!
The crowd shouted angrily,
This is a revolution.
thought the mayor.
Better escape fast.
And so he left with his gang of trusted counselors. But before he reached his house, he saw an angry mob waiting for him outside. They had discovered his vault, stuffed with all the money he had collected through heavy taxes over so many years. The mayor ran away as fast as he could. He even established a new speed record. Weeks passed. The city had changed. For the first time in many years, there was an election. Perhaps the new mayor was not as intelligent as the old one, but he was honest and caring. And then one night, a new tune was heard. People all woke up. And when they went to the windows, they saw a long line of children. Their children, coming back to them. The end.